All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just push one. Can anyone hear me out there? If you can hear me, just push one. All right, I got a confirmation from the chat. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust student. This is open chat number 52. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust student. Those posts on the community tab. There will be a docket and description beneath the video for you to follow along with. Just give me a few minutes. We'll get that together.
Yo, how many MCs must get this? How niggas still think they can fuck with the kid? I guess I moved up in the world, dude was not happy. Take it as my success throwing shots at me. Gotta calm the lions, tame shooters. Gotta catch a new body with the same Ruger. We don't spit the same mucus. I'm a boss and you not. The shit, they even tried to kill Frank Lucas. So nigga, if I die tomorrow, you ain't gotta ask why tomorrow. Dogs, I done called the likes of niggas that you should never come with. Made bonds with niggas you shouldn't bond with. I'm sick, girl, in my palm shit. Repeating convict while the dogs turn convict. Shit, I guess what I'm trying to say is niggas that die running like Brian Shea. Call them lean niggas. Got high hopes, call them dream team niggas. Shit is in my blood, it's a king team nigga. I make you appear to be whatever I feel like. Green screen niggas chill. So go and get souped up words. Maybe do it for church. Maybe dudes disturbed. Maybe dudes no go. Maybe dudes berserk. So when I pull up in the tank, maybe you deserve me. I get into dudes' character defects. Before you deal, you was a character recheck. Humble pie when you see a character repress. Fuck your take, homie, I pass it up, e-check. Time to separate the real from the lies. The hills have eyes, but on the hills of the minds, I reveal at the skies in a hot Ferrari. It's a new Joe in town, and it's not your broady. Look, turn pink, her face getting a cam on, in the club band on, freak getting a jam on. Lives on, trying to put her hands on the ice, cause it's soft bar 4 dog, big enough to stand on. When the rappers start acting this fly, say you top 5, they'll grab it and ride, but I'm humble. So even though I am legend, I can say Will Smith's the best rapper alive. And so, when they tell you you doing your thing, they taking your tampon out, pulling your string. How the fuck's you a thug when you stay shook, nigga? You're more like a schoolboy, a Facebook nigga. Look, I'm just starving, this can't be greed. I'm not a drug lord, don't nobody give me keys. Gotta drop a few branches off my family tree. Raise my sons all wrong, guess I'm Andy Reid, it's me. I can't put the jewels on without no chrome. I can't rock these ice creams without the cold stones. I'm so focused, get on some long nose shit. And Al got a goons around you on some bullshit. Won't get into streets of instrumentals. Bum ass niggas remind me of Mr. Wendell. Me on the horizon, I've been trying to bring pies and more dudes than Verizon behind them. Bunch of generals behind me, I'm the crew chief. Busting up my Ricky Davis, that's the new key. I'll come clean about out, man, it's a damn shame. Only religions I'm into is a brand name campaign, going full throttle like a race. Feeling funkified, get a bottle to the face. For you, times is rough too, cause ain't nobody buying your albums but you. On the sales of everything I hear, you lost it. Still rap right, but your ears exhausted. Fuck your bunch of money, put your ego to the side, and maybe it's time to study your understudy. I mean, are we hustling or are we grown up? Every time I hear you, changing your tone up. When the new generation think about Jordan, all they remember is when Iverson crossed them. Take off the blades and loosen up the tie. Nigga fell in love and Superman died. Better learn to cover your ears when the toys pop. I hate your last single when none of you boys rock. Can we get some new niggas with promise? The new generation won't forget you, we promise. We'll always pay homage, but let's get one thing understood, son. Every encore ain't a good one.
All right, man. Let me get started real quick because I'm not going to be here for very long. I just want to go through this real quick. All right, just give me a second. Share my screen real quick. All right, I wanted to go over this real quick because I think it's apropos for the time being. I work in cybersecurity, so I just want to make sure that people are informed. So cyber bullying, cyber stalking, what is it? So let me just go over this for the state of Indiana. This is from the Attorney General in Indiana. Make my screen. So if you're living in Indiana or you go to school in Indiana, this could potentially be in your interest. Cyberbullying is another hazard now appearing on social networks, sites. Kids no longer need muscles to bully and torment their peers. An overwhelming majority of harassment incidents were occur on social networking sites. What may start as a joke, once launched into cyberspace, can be very serious. The impact on the victim can be devastating and even tragic. Cyberbullying is highly varied and hard to define. Parents can no longer count on seeing the telltale physical signs of bullying, a black eye, bloody lip, or torn clothes, but the damage done by cyberbullies is no less and can be infinitely more painful. At its core, it is sending and or posting derogatory or hateful material on the internet with the intent to harm another. Cyberbullying can be defamatory to a group, a team, a race, or target a single victim. Bullies employ any or all cyber communications, including posts to social networking sites, texting, chat rooms, email, instant messaging, and blogs to harass, threaten, spread lies, or distribute embarrassing pictures. The internet gives bullies a worldwide audience for taunting their victims while maintaining some anonymity. Okay. Cyberbullying tips for parents. I'm not going to go through that. I just want to make sure I go over the definition first. That's more important than anything else. So let me jump to the next item that I found. Let's talk about Colorado. Colorado stalking laws. So this also includes cyber. This is from statelaws.finelaw.com. This is for state of Colorado. Some attention can feel flattering, but there can be a point where it starts to feel threatening or dangerous. In those unfortunate instances, the Rocky Mountain State has laws intended to prevent or at least punish would-be stalkers. Here is a brief summary of stalking laws in Colorado. In the most common understanding stalking is the unwanted purist of another person from following a person to work or showing up at a person's home to making harassing phone calls or leaving written messages or other objects. In some cases, vandalizing a person's property can fall under Colorado's harassment statute, which criminalizes most stalking actions. Many targets of stalking were once in romantic relationships with their stalkers, and many stalking victims have been or may be victims of domestic violence as well. If you find yourself in a situation, Colorado offers protective orders that can protect you from stalkers and domestic abusers. Many states have laws regarding stalking, although they differ in terms of how they are obtained and enforced. The following chart outlines Colorado's anti-stalking statute. So this statute actually applies to cyber as well, but these are just the laws, for the state of Colorado. The punishment and classification is the first offense is a class 5 felony. If at time of first offense, there is a temporary or permanent restraining order, injunction, or other court order, a class 4 felony. So either way, the classification is still a felony. Penalty for repeat offense, if within the 7 years of date prior offense for which person was convicted, class 4 felony. Okay, so they're saying you can go to jail for stalking, including cyber stalking. This is for the state of Colorado. Okay. Let's see if I can pull this up. This is from departmentofjustice.gov, cyber misbehavior. Okay, let me just go over this real quick. This is kind of messed up. The introduction, this is from the Executive Office for United States Attorneys. Cyber stalking, threats, and related technology facilitated violent criminal behavior are increasingly common. The Center for Disease and Control and Prevention reports that 1 in 6 women and 1 in 19 men in the United States have experienced stalking at some point in their lives. That caused them to fear or believe that they or a person close to them would be harmed or killed. National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey 2010 Survey Summary Report 2. The Bureau of Justice Statistics has found that many stalking victims were stalked for a period of months or years with 11% of victims reporting that they were stalked for 5 years or more. United States Department of Justice, stalking victims in the United States, revised 3. Okay. With the widespread use of computers and mobile devices, offenders do not need to physically locate a target or leave the comfort of their dwellings to harass, intimidate, and destroy the lives of the victims. Stalking, threats, and harassment offenses are often thought to be local law enforcement matters, but with the increased use of technology and multi-jurisdictional nature of many of these crimes, federal law enforcement and prosecutors can offer additional resources to effectively pursue these cases that may exceed the capacity of local law enforcement. Indeed, the use of technology has erased traditional borders, complicating cases that would otherwise appear straightforward. The issue of the United States Attorney's Bulletin discusses a number of different types of technology-facilitated violent offenses, including cyberstalking, harassment, threats, swatting, and sextortion, and the federal criminal laws that prohibit this behavior. So this is a federal offense, okay? It's a federal. This bulletin also addresses other important components to a multifaceted approach to combat these offenses. In particular, the bulletin includes a resource guide for victims and an article from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children on delivering effective outreach and awareness activities in the community. The bulletin further includes a study of the first federal cyberstalking cases resulting in death in the United States versus David T. Moskowitz. 3 defendants were sentenced to life in prison for the murder of David Moskowitz's ex-wife, Christine Belford, and her friend, Laura Mulford, at the Newcastle County, Delaware courthouse. Prior to the murders, David Moskowitz and his family engaged in a 3-year campaign to stalk, harass, and intimidate Christine Belford and her children. On February 13, 2013, when Moskowitz and his father, Thomas, knew Christine Belford would be present at the courthouse, they drove to the location where Thomas Moskowitz shot Christine Belford multiple times, killing her. He then shot Laura Mulford as she attempted to flee. This case underscores the seriousness of these offenses and the need to be vigilant in protecting these vulnerable victims. Federal law enforcement and prosecutors are already doing exceptional work on these matters, and I think you may be on behalf of the department for continuing this fight. Introduction to violent crime on the internet. Number 1, or section 1, crimes in the virtual world can have terrible real-world impact on victims. On a series of handwritten flashcards, Amanda Todd detailed the torment she had dealt with for over 4 years and posted it to the internet via YouTube. So that the Department of Justice is looking at YouTube. So keep that in mind. Hello, I decided to tell you about my never-ending story. In 7th grade, I would go with friends on webcam, meet and talk to new people, then got called stunning, beautiful, perfect, etc. They wanted me to flash, so I did. 1 year later, I got a message on Facebook from him. Don't know how he knew me. It said, if you don't put on a show for me, I send your boobs. He knew my address, school, relatives, friends, family names. Christmas break, knock on my door at 4. It was the police. My photo was sent to everyone. I then got really sick and got anxiety, major depression, panic disorder. A year passed and the guy came back with my new list of friends in school, but made a Facebook page. My boobs were a profile pic. I'm not going to go into all this because this is the impact of doxing and stalking. A few months later, at age 15, she killed herself at her home in British Columbia. The events detailed in Amanda's video graphically illustrate multiple types of violent crime that occur every day on the internet. There are a number of different terms to describe the conduct affecting victims like Amanda. These terms include cyber harassment, cyber stalking, cyber bullying, cyber threats, cyber extortion, sextortion, and revenge porn. The terms can be confusing when someone refers to cyber harassment. Is that the same as cyberbullying or cyber stalking? Is sextortion the same as revenge porn? What are cyber threats? These terms sometimes overlap, adding to a potential confusion. This article seeks to explain the meaning of terms commonly used to describe violent crime on the internet and provide guidance on potential avenues for prosecuting these crimes federally. Okay, they're talking about using the feds for harassing people on social media. This is not always straightforward, as these crimes do not all have controlling federal statutes. For example, there is no sextortion offense in the United States Criminal Code, but sextortion behavior often encompasses multiple federal crimes. Further, fact patterns vary widely from case to case. So a statute that could be used to charge one cyber harassment case may not be applicable in other cyber harassment cases. While the specific statutes may vary, however, the commonality to all of these offenses is the tremendous harm visited upon the victims. Okay? Whether the victims are minors or adults, men and women, the harm inflicted by the predators is severe and long-lasting. Amanda Todd's suffering was not unique Indeed, it was not even uncommon. Victims who never intended their most private images to be released to the public can find themselves fired from jobs, forced to change schools, harassed, and even threatened with rape. So let me go down the list. Let me read this one paragraph. The suffering visited upon the victims of such conduct has led to district judges pronouncing sentences called them defendants cyber terrorists. Okay, that's what they're calling them now, cyber terrorists. It's important that people understand this. Referring to a defendant who has hacked into his ex-girlfriend's online account and used that access to overdraw her bank account, max out her credit card, and send graphic sex photos to the victims, to her family, friends, and co-workers. One sentencing judge remarked that he had never seen a person so dedicated to utterly destroying the victim in all aspects of her life. Okay, they're referring to the case here, United States versus Lagarde. Furthermore, the harm is long-lasting. In 2008, a stalker secretly recorded the nude images of sports newscaster Erin Andrews alone in her hotel room and then released the video onto the internet. In 2016, a civil trial, as Ms. Andrews tearfully described the tremendous fear and the pain that she continues to live with years after her stalker had prosecuted. So she was awarded $55 million in damages. So this is serious stuff that the feds are looking at, okay? There's a list of, I won't go over all of them. We went over cyberbullying already. Cyber threats can simply mean threatening communications that are conveyed via the internet, cell phone, or other digital means. The communication and interstate commerce of threats to harm a person or property, to kidnap a person, to damage a person's reputation is a violation of the federal law pursuant to 18 USC 875. Because the internet is a means of interstate commerce, threats sent online may be federally prosecuted. So they're talking about prosecuting people who are engaging in all of this cyber behavior, what they call misbehavior. Okay, it's what this document is. I'll leave the document description beneath the video. You can follow up with it after the live stream is over. Cyberstalking. Stalking is a pattern of repeated unwanted harassment, contact, or any other course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause reasonable person to feel fear. Department of Justice Office of Victims of Crime. Okay. Obtaining personal information about the victim by accessing public records using internet search services, hiring private investigators, searching through the victim's garbage. I didn't know people still did that. Following the victim and contacting the victim's friends, family, co-workers, and neighbors, etc. So that falls under the statute, okay? Posting information or spreading rumors about the victim on the internet in a public place or by word of mouth, or that falls under the federal state statute of cyberstalking. Okay, it's a federal offense for you to do this. Okay, they can prosecute you for this. Harassing the victim through the internet, it's right here. Harassing the victim through the internet. Okay, writing blogs about a demographic of men, Black men in particular, would invoke such a law. Okay, that's what this is from the Department of Justice. This isn't me making this up. So you write a blog about a group of a demographic of people, specifically Black men, in a social space and label them as misogynists. If you label them as misogynists or P or R, this is now being handled by the Department of Justice. Okay? This isn't some trial court like a speeding ticket. This is being handled at the top. Go down. The term cyberstalking is both a colloquial term that can cover a broad range of conduct and also legal term of art. It is commonly understood to mean simply stalking that occurs online and may sometimes be interchangeable with other terms covered by this article, such as cyber harassment, cyber threats, or revenge porn. The National Conference of State Legislatures defines cyberstalking as the use of the internet, email, or other electronic communications to stalk, and generally refers to a pattern of threatening and malicious behaviors involving a credible threat to harm. Okay, so if you write a blog, actually, let me finish reading this real quick. Under the federal cyberstalking statute, cyberstalking includes any course of conduct or series of acts taken by a perpetrator on the internet that place the victim in a reasonable fear of death or serious bodily injury, or causes attempts to cause or would reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress to the victim or the victim's immediate family, right? So in this case, there's a dossier that has been going around by a specific person that says all of these people are either anti-BW or anti-feminist, which they did not request or permit that their names be listed under this dossier that has been created under a fictitious blog. Okay. Cyber harassment. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, cyber harassment differs from cyberstalking in that it is generally defined as not involving a credible threat. Okay. Rather, cyber harassment usually pertains to threatening or harassing email messages, instant messages, or to blog entries. This is key, blog entries. So if you create a blog that has this dossier on there with a list of potential channels, some of them are business related, some of them are nonprofit, that says all of these potential social media channels or designations are in fact misogynist channels that are anti-feminist or anti-BW, this is considered to be cyber harassment. Okay. However, the term cyber harassment is often used synonymously with cyberstalking. There is no general reference to cyber harassment under federal law, but conduct that could be considered cyber harassment might nevertheless be prosecuted under other laws depending on the specific facts. While cyber harassment may be described as a less serious than cyberstalking, it can have serious consequences for victims. One unique form of cyber harassment, known as swatting, deceives emergency responders into dispatching a special weapons and tactics SWAT team to the location of the victim. While some might consider this merely a prank, swatting is actually extremely dangerous, terrorizing the victim and placing both the victim and law enforcement at risk. Okay. Another form of cyber harassment is doxing, which refers to broadcasting personally identifiable information about an individual on the internet. It can expose the victim to an anonymous mob of countless harassers calling their phones, sending them email, and even appearing at the victim's home. For example, in the heavily publicized instance of harassment known as Gamergate, after the victim Zoe Quinn broke up with her boyfriend, he posted a lengthy, massive missive on the internet discussing their relationship and the perceived wrongs she had perpetrated on him. While he did not expressly threaten Ms. Quinn, his posting was filled with her personal information, and she contends that he was aware that this post would result in her being harassed and stalked by individuals reading the post. That is certainly what happened. The internet exploded against her, and her details, such as her home address, email, passwords, and family, were published. She received thousands of threats, including threats of death and rape. Game of Fear, Zachary Jason, Boston Magazine. This is 2015. This was only 5 years ago. Cyber extortion, that's pretty easy to understand. Sextortion, we know about sextortion, and revenge, non-consensual pornography, taking people's dick pics and stuff like that. I want to make sure we're not getting involved in any of that. what federal statutes are available to address these offenses. These offenses described above often overlap with each other, and there are a number of federal offenses that can be considered when analyzing the facts in any particular cyberstalking, cyber extortion type case. The statutes mostly commonly used in these cases are described below. Okay, Section A18, USC 2261A alpha, cyberstalking. Okay. Not going to go into all of it. Threats and extortion. Section B, 18 USC 875, threats and extortion. Obscene or harassing telephone calls. Section C, 47 USC 223. Computer hacking. I think that's a pretty common one. Many of the cases described in this article involve unauthorized access to a computer to obtain illicit photographs or other information belonging to the victim, often in cases involving adult victims. Unauthorized access to the victim's computer or email is the first step to their victimization. In these circumstances of Section A2C of Section 1030, which proscribes unauthorized access to a computer to obtain information, likely applies. So these are the penal codes that they're referring to. Okay. So I'm not going to go over too much of this. Actually, let me just read this conclusion. The internet and the prevalence of social media has increased the ways in which perpetrators can harm their victims. The federal criminal laws provide avenues by which these victims can have their rights vindicated. While these cases may have some charging challenges, they can also be extremely rewarding as the crimes are serious and the harm to the victim is real. So that is from the Department of Justice. This is not some, made up thing that I'm just going over. I want to make sure that people understand that. And I'm going to go over the last bit of information here. So this is the last piece on the docket, then I'll close it out. This is from the Office of Inspector General, DHS.gov. Okay, expand this out. New York man pleads guilty to cyberstalking. A New York man pleaded guilty today to cyberstalking victims in the Eastern District of Virginia and Washington, D.C., and to frame them for crimes or workplace violations they had not committed. According to court documents, over a period of 1 year, Anthony Kakamo, 27, of Flushing, used identity masking internet applications to send harassing messages to one of his victims, posing as men with whom the victim had had a consensual sexual relationship. In those messages, Kakamo threatened to hack the victim's online accounts, leak sensitive personal information, and frame her for crimes she had not committed. Or on at least one occasion, Kakamo made good on his threat to frame the victim for crimes she had not committed. For example, in June 2017, Kakamo sent a false tip to Homeland Security investigations tip line, alleging that she was involved in narcotics smuggling. Kakamo also created false evidence to convince federal investigators that he too was a victim of harassment, and provided false information to federal investigators to make it appear as though a certain DHS employee with a cybersecurity background was responsible for the harassment. Federal investigators ultimately traced the harassing messages to Kakamo's online accounts and personal devices. So DHS, this includes the FBI, have very sophisticated tools for forensics analysis in terms of cybersecurity. So keep that in mind. Very, very sophisticated. Kakamo pleaded guilty to cyberstalking and faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison when sentenced on December 14. Actual sentences for federal crimes are typically less than the maximum penalty. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after taking into account the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. G. Zachary Terwigler, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, and John V. Kelly, Acting Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security, made the announcement after U.S. District Judge Leonie M. Brinkema accepted the plea. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Laura Fong and J.V. prosecuted the case. Okay, that's the end of it. So the penalties is up to 5 years. People are playing games with, and I'll drop this in the description of the video as well. Stalking, doxing, these are all federal offenses now because they're involved in the internet, in that it traverses the communications medium across state lines, so therefore it becomes federal. So that's why this is federal. Okay, so my analysis on this essentially is people should stay away from this type of stuff. Stop harassing people and stop bothering people in Black YouTube. It's just not worth it. These are federal offenses. I don't understand why anybody would want to engage in this type of stuff. YouTube keeps a copy of everyone's IP. They can trace back the IP to exactly where your geolocation is, right down to your service provider, whether it's Comcast, RCN, or Verizon, or Time Warner, whoever your provider is, AT&T. And then what happens when they go down to AT&T, which it only takes them a few seconds to figure that out, they're going to go to AT&T and say, we want these logs. And then they're going to look through the logs and they're going to zero it down to exactly what kind of computer it was and who may have been logged in that day. You have a username that goes into your computer. Even if you have a VPN, they do have sophisticated tools to break all this stuff down. Just give them enough time and they'll figure it out. And what I see happening, Black YouTube, Manosphere, Facebook, and all that stuff, I don't know why people want to engage in this stuff. If they have enough evidence, they will prosecute you, just like this case right here. This man pled guilty and he's still going to be looking at 5 years. Okay, this was last year. So make no mistake that people are watching this. Okay, let me actually pull up a image real quick. I think this is apropos for this as well. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me a quick second. I think I can find it. I wouldn't be surprised if they took the article down. Let me try one more time. I don't think I'll be able to find it tonight. If I do find it, I'll post it on the community tab, because I think it's important that people understand this, that this is interesting. I think they took the article down. Basically, the point that I was trying to make here is this. There is a joint venture of law enforcement departments that are, that are watching people's content on social media. Okay, so social media task force. Actually, here's the article right here from the ACLU. I'll share my screen real quick. I wanted to show the Technical Operations Center aspect to it, but they don't have the image up anymore. It says Boston police use social media surveillance for years without informing city council. Okay. Boston City Council held a hearing to discuss the Boston Police Department's plan to spend $1.4 million on social media surveillance system. Police Superintendent Paul Fitzgerald and Boston Regional Intelligence Center, this is important, Regional Intelligence Center. So this is what I was referring to earlier. I'll see if I can find it, the image. Director David Carabin spoke of their commitment to transparency, but did not provide any specific details about the software. After news of the plans became public, Boston Police Commissioner William Evans explained, "We're not going after ordinary people." Yeah, right. So what they found, and beyond, this is beyond the article. Boston Police, New York Police Department, LA Police Department, Chicago Police Department, Atlanta Police Department, all have this sort of regional intelligence center. Okay, they share intelligence on about social media. People on social media, they're watching everybody's social media feeds. Now, what this does is it violates the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment, which is the right to privacy and right to freedom of speech. But they don't care about that, and so they kept this hidden. And this has been going on for years. Okay. See if I can find the image real quick, and then I'll jump off of here because it's important that people understand what's going on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay. Here is a small screenshot of what I was able to find. There's actually a really good photo of what their intelligence, social media intelligence operation looks like. Okay. This is a screenshot of one of their intelligence operations center, and they're collecting all of your streams, all of your data, and then they're going through it using sophisticated social media surveillance tools, like I pointed to earlier in the article. Okay, now that article is about 5 years old, and they've been doing this for years. So they say they're looking for terrorists, but trust me, they're looking at everything that you do. All your searches, all your content. If you stream content, you use certain keywords. The social media surveillance tools actually have the ability to sift out those keywords and talking points and put it all into context using artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay. This is what's going on. And so I find it interesting that people in the Black manosphere don't really understand that you're being watched. So if you want to engage in this sort of behavior, you do it at your own risk. Okay? Do it at your own risk. But don't come over here and say that we didn't tell you so. All right, I'm going to update the, and please hit the like button too. I'm going to update the docket, and then you all can have, use your own judgment on how you want to proceed forward with this type of stuff. All right. Just give me a second. I'll update the docket. Also, oh yeah, this is important too. Make sure I put this in there as well. This is from the FBI, Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, okay? I'll expand this out. The IC3 accepts online internet crime complaints from either the actual victim or from a third party to the complainant. We can best process your complaint if we receive accurate and complete information from you. Therefore, we request you provide following information when filing a complaint: victim's name, address, telephone, and email, financial transaction information, account information, transaction date and amount, subject's name, address, telephone, email, website, and IP address, okay? All they need is an IP address. They know exactly where you are. Specific details on how you were victimized, email headers, any other relevant information you believe is necessary to support your complaint, okay? This is very important. This is what is going to be used to prosecute people, all right? That's the last one. I should have posted that first, but that goes in there as well. All right. So if you are in Colorado, you should actually leverage the Colorado state government to actually file your complaint there. And once the complaint has been filed, you should be able to escalate it further. The state attorney general will actually escalate it for you if you have a credible case. Okay. All right, save that, update the docket. Yeah, the link, Techie, the links are in the description beneath the video now. You can read them at your leisure. They have this massive intelligence operation going on. We saw the article, it said regional intelligence, okay? Regional intelligence. This is happening all over the country. California probably has a massive intelligence operation going on. California operates like a country, and they work with the state of Israel, but don't tell them I told you that, okay? They're watching everybody in YouTube. Why anybody wants to get into this sort of drama, I have no idea. They will find you very quickly because they are already collecting all this information from the NSA. Okay, your service provider has already turned over all the records. They just pipe it out. That information gets handed over to law enforcement. Law enforcement does their due diligence. Trust me, they're building a social media task force. Okay, I saw it with my own eyes. That's why I couldn't find the image earlier. But there's a social media task force. People in law enforcement that don't even carry guns, they just kind of sit down in street clothes and they're looking with these 6 monitors on their desk and they're looking at everybody's social media feeds, okay? Based on artificial intelligence and machine learning, gathering this data into a big data lake, and then they look for keywords, you know, things that they may be looking for. You may have a team that might just be focusing on African Americans, another team focused on white nationals, another one focused on Latinos, and so on and so forth, and Muslims and Islam, and so on and so forth. They have a whole operation going on. Why anybody wants to get into all this doxing stuff and all of this beef stuff is beyond me. You're going to pay the price for it, because now that they've legalized marijuana and lowered the offenses for other drug cases, drug incidents, they're going to start going after people online, because there's a lot of people online and there's a lot of vulnerability on there where they can find you pretty easily when you make certain statements. Yeah, when you upload your images to YouTube and stuff like that, that's no longer yours. That belongs to YouTube, and YouTube can freely distribute those images everywhere. I'm not really worried too much because the Black Brain Trust doesn't really engage in a lot of the effery that you see going on throughout this social space. But what I'm saying here is the people who have engaged in it, you might want to think twice about it, because now they're getting serious with these federal laws. You just saw the article where a guy from New York, a guy was harassing people in the South, and they arrested him. He pled guilty to it. So the offense is 5 years. You want to spend 5 years in there because you got involved in an online beef? I don't understand that. Yeah, that's a good point. Keep it techie. He says it's been going on for years. Look at the surveillance program Snowden exposed, but now the law are being changed because of this outbreak. Yeah. Yeah, it's a serious business, man. I heard today that a person who works for one of the agencies within Black YouTube, within the manosphere space, was using their work computers to access people's information. That is the most asinine thing you could have ever done. But anyways, that's up to those people. And please hit the like button if not already done so. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Doc and description, please, the video for you to follow along with and reference. Shalom, everyone.